Most retirees waste thousands of dollars in their early GOGO years, the time when they have the funds and they have the energy, and they don't realize it until the slow go years hit that they have some regrets of what they did in the early years. Today, what I'm going to do is break down the 7 purchases that almost lead to regret every single time once a retiree gets to the older years, and what to do instead so that your money lasts longer and you have more experiences than regrets. And what are the go-go years? The go-go years are those 10 to 15 years after someone retires. This is a time when retirees are the most active, the most physically healthy, and they also, if they've done the right thing, they have the most money saved and available during that time. It is the phase of retirement that costs the most money because many of the retirees, because they're doing so many things. They're out cruising, they're out partying, out enjoying the life, traveling, going to different countries, just having a ball. These are really considered to be the go-go years. That's 10 to 15 years after retirement. During these years, retirees have the health and they have the strength. And they have the thinking capacity to handle complicated travel plans. Because sometimes when you schedule a travel, it does take it's complicated. All the things you have to do in order to get a travel plan all scheduled and taken care of. And at this time, these are the go-go years. Retirees make mistakes, and retirees, when they make these mistakes, it's not because they overspend, not because they're irresponsible. It's more about being excited and enjoying the time. Now, stick with me to the end. I think number 7 is going to be a strange one, and most people will be surprised at what it is. This is regret number 1. This is the one that is a big one. People in their early years of retirement, they may buy an RV, they may buy a boat, or they may buy a luxury car without taking into account that as for an RV, if you're not an avid RVer, that's not something that you've done over the years, and you know exactly what you want to buy and you know how you travel, an RV could end up having hidden costs. Remember, as you pull an RV down the road, that thing is going through earthquakes in the back, and it shakes loose. So there's always maintenance fees for an RV. There are hidden RV parks, the gas that it takes. If you stay in RV parks over a long period of time, you're not only paying for the location that you're staying in a lot, you also have to pay the electricity. So if you haven't accounted for the additional cost of the RV, you will be surprised. Same with the car. A luxury car. If you buy one, it may be considered a luxury car today, but tomorrow, 10 years down the road, when you're much older in your 70s, you may look back at that car and say, hey, I shouldn't have bought that car. I regret buying that car. That car only it becomes a money pit because of the maintenance and the upkeep. And same thing with a boat. If you may live in a place where you are retiring and you're used to getting out on the water, now you want your own rig. You want to get out on that boat and go travel. But you haven't taken into account, if you live in an area where you can't store that boat in your yard or on your property, you have to account for storage fees. Same with an RV. You have to account for storage fees. Where are you going to keep that vehicle? Where are you going to keep that boat? And maintenance upkeep of a boat is very costly. Who knows how long and how often you're going to go on that boat, you're going to go traveling. And if you have a health scare or a health impact that really slows you down at some point, and you don't use that RV, that boat, or drive that luxury car, you're going to look back at it and regret. So take into consideration. Now, some of the things that are suggested for an RV, if you're not an avid RVer, buy something that's less expensive or rent an RV to see if it's something that you can get into. And if you're purchasing the RV and you're not planning to spend a good portion traveling, and that RV is going to be sitting guess what? That's a waste of money and you regret it later on. So the first mistake, the first regret that retirees think through and say that they regret in their latter years is buying, again, an expensive RV, a boat, or buying a luxury car. The next mistake that retirees regret as they grow older is upgrading everything all at once. Now I'm retired. Now I'm going to upgrade. In the excitement of retirement, people upgrade everything. They upgrade the furniture, they upgrade the appliances, decorations in the house, the tech, and most of it ends up being unused. If the individual retiree is more of a traveler or starts to be a traveler, all those things that they upgraded in the house will go unused. One thing that travel teaches you as you travel more is you know what the necessary things are that you need and things that you don't need. And why not spend money on experiences and have more for those grand experiences and less on stuff? As a suggestion, upgrade slowly, upgrade intentionally, and add what improves comfort and adds to experiences, and don't add more stuff, no more clutter. And one thing that happens as you get to a retired age, the stage in your life, is you have a chance to look back. You may have all kinds of things. Your garage may be full of stuff. Your house is full of stuff, and you may have storage units full of stuff. So why not declutter and be intentional about the stuff that you buy and enjoy, have the money so that you have better experiences? I guess this one also is a regret that retirees have, but it goes along with the one previously. And this is overspending on home renovations becomes a big regret. Most retirees sink tens of thousands of dollars into home renovations before they discover the enjoyment of travel and wanting to get away from the place, only to realize later they could have used all that money that they used to build the house, renovate the kitchen, renovate the bathrooms, do all of those renovations to the house. They could have used all that money that they spent to have better experiences instead. Now, if you plan to travel more than you think, more than half of the year, keep the home simple. Buy things that you know you're going to need. Don't turn your house into a project that's going to drain all of your retirement funds and not leave you anything for a travel budget. Now, this is just a continuation. Renovating the house. Some people, when they retire, look at, now that I'm in retirement and I have the funds, they end up buying a significantly larger house, more expensive dream home, or a separate vacation home in a different location. Now, these properties come with hefty, larger, and often underestimated costs that for upkeep and maintenance and property taxes, insurance, and utilities. That's one of the things that we often talked about in our early years of marriage is once we retire, we're going to move down south and buy this big, great property, larger property in a different locations. You may not understand the taxes in that state. It may be totally different. The locality may be very expensive to live in. And if it's just you and your spouse, how much of the house do you really use? Does it make sense to spend your money to sink some of your retirement funds into that new house or that vacation home? Who's going to stay in the vacation home when you're away from it? If somebody's going to manage that for you, that's more of a headache and more problems. And again, retirees don't recognize that the large, high maintenance property can turn into a money pit that drains their savings and creates a different lifestyle and puts a toll on their health. And one of the things that we do anyway, as we retire, is we downsize, declutter, and try to have a clean, simple way of life that less stress. So instead of sinking that money into, again, a house is more stuff, save the funds and have more experiences because experiences bring a smile to your face. Another regret that retirees get into in those go, go, go years when they have the health and they have the money is planning and spending money on these large, lavish travel. While travel is a top retirement dream, funding endless, expensive, long duration luxury trips in the early years can create a serious strain on the next stay. It just chops it away. These big withdrawals limit the growth of your investments in the early years early on so that it's not compounding, leaving you with less money, less capital to draw on in the early years, And cruise lines are notorious. They do a great job of selling long itineraries, but if you're not a cruiser and you haven't cruised, you haven't gone on trips, start with the 5 days, the 4 days, 3 days trips, and see if cruising is something that you want to get into. But to just arbitrarily say, hey, I'm retiring, I'm going, I'm getting out of here, and you plan a 10, 14, 20-day trip on the seas and you're not well adjusted to traveling, you don't know how you travel, what you like to do in travel, that could be a regret that you have in the later years. You spend all of this money where in the early years, that money could be in the account and later compounding interest, but you spent it on that big lavish trip. So don't underestimate the total cost of lavish travel. Not only will the cruise ships or travel locations, the hidden costs, those things you have to take care of. Now, one thing that travel gives you experiences that bring a smile on your face when you think about them. Timeshares and travel clubs. Timeshares and travel clubs sound great because it's very simple. You have guaranteed weeks, you have beautiful resorts, you have fixed pricing, things are already planned for you, but retirees regret locking in to these timeshares or travel clubs. They may go to places or that you may not be wanting to go to, but since you bought into the travel club, guess what? You're committed to it. Timeshare, it may be a week that you're trying to get into, but guess what? You didn't plan it at the right time and you're not able to get into that week. So you're left with what remains. It sounds great. It looks great. But is it great? Retirees quickly regret the initial lump sum, the cost. It's always a very high initial cost. And then the annual maintenance fees start to kick in and things start to go up. And it becomes a burden for many with the timeshares and the travel clubs. And then when they try to sell them, a travel club or a timeshare, if you try to sell it, you're not getting the money back that you put into it. It costs a high cost to enter into it, and it's a long-term financial commitment because of the increased annual fees, and you can't get your money back out of it that you have put into it. So that becomes another money pit. And again, many retirees in their later years who bought into timeshares and travel clubs, this is one of those areas that they regret. So in your go-go years, travel, but work to understand how you travel and what you plan to do and what is best for you and your lifestyle. You are unique in your travel experience. Enjoy those go-go years in the way that suits you and not be constrained by these timeshares or these travel clubs. Now, number 7 is being overly generous to help out family members, your adult children or other family members with financial help. Giving a substantial amount, a one-time large amount, financial gifts, helping your children with the down payment of a house. If you're able, you can, paying off their student loans or paying for a lavish wedding. Those things, those expenses are well-intentioned. They're great. But what retirees often say in their latter years is they wish they had not done that, because those funds that they spent on that wedding, that $20,000 to pay for your daughter's wedding or more, could have been an amount that could have been compounding over all these years, and it would have paid off for me in my latter years. And whenever you really expend your resources, that nest egg in the early years, to take care of your children's or your family members' problems, what you end up doing is taking care of their short-term need and ignoring your future need for your retirement stability. So in those go-go years, there are many things to think about. And sometimes it is best to think about yourself first and then take care of others. Put on your oxygen mask first before you put on the oxygen mask of others. Practical tips about retiring, just to make sure that your funds are being managed properly. Always have a budget. Always have a plan. Plan your trips. Try to manage your trip planning in a way that is slow go, and you're enjoying and you're able to reduce the stress of planning for that trip, and you're able to enjoy that trip while you're on that trip. Build flexible spending plans for your budget. Make sure that you're buying the right things at the right time, and you're getting rid of those things that don't bring those experiences and that enjoyment to your life. Declutter. Live a simple life. No, and when it comes to lavish things such as an RV, a second home, or a luxury car, or a boat, try before you buy. It may be something that you love to do. It may be less expensive to rent. Try it before you buy it. You may not like it. You may not like living in an RV for a week or 2 weeks, or traveling in that way. It may not be in your style. Again, in these go-go years, you have the energy. Try different things. Try it before you buy it. All stuff that you buy depreciates. Things depreciate. If you buy a luxury car, it may not be a luxury car 5 years from now. Some other brand may have knocked that brand off the mantra, or the top of being a great luxury car. All things and stuff depreciate. Experiences at this time in our lives will always bring a smile to your face. Again, stuff is stuff, but the experiences, if you're managing your budget so that you are experiencing life, you can always think back on those things, have those pictures, have those experiences, and it will always bring a smile to your face. Embrace slow travel, slow living, planned events, stress. Yes, it's the go-go years, but do some thinking while you do it, while you're moving through it, so that you can enjoy it and have those experiences that you can think back on later in life. And you're not thinking back with regret, saying, I should have, could have, and would have. If only. You don't want to have those regrets. So take these things now. The go-go years, yes, my wife and I are in those go-go years. The go-go years are precious. Enjoy it. They're filled with energy, freedom, and opportunities to explore. Enjoy. And with a little bit of wisdom and planning, you can make your money that you have at this time last a lot longer, and make experiences that you have richer. And you're not looking back and saying, I regret buying that. I regret spending money on that. Think about the experiences and think less about stuff. Now, if you want more videos on slow travel, Airstream life, RV life, cruising, or budgeting and practical retirement planning, go ahead and subscribe. I love to have you come along with us as we go on this journey. This is Mitch, Reaching Freedom. See you next time.